Councilman Henwood. Councilman Doran.
Here.
Councilman Monty.
Here.
Councilman Vidal.
Here.
Councilman Jordan. Councilwoman Rose. Here.
In compliance with New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975, I hereby declare that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided specifying that this meeting would be held on this date in the Municipal Building Council Chambers, 2nd floor, 55 River Road, Edgewater, New Jersey. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Record and the Jersey Journal and posted in the lobby of the Borough Hall as required by law. Councilman Doran, would you lead us in the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Mary?
Mary Hogan, 606 Unicliff Avenue. I'm glad the people are here for the, I presume they're here for the park, Veterans Field, because I wanted to know what the actual cost of the remediation is as opposed to the cost of the improvements. And it's all been kind of jammed together, so I'm not sure what the breakdown is on that. The second thing is, I congratulate Kathy Prado on her and the first aid squad for their time. But the question I had was, what is going on with the first aid squad's headquarters at the old Borough Hall? I don't see anything going on with that at all. Is work being done?
We haven't started anything right now.
Okay, because you've been out of there for quite a while, and I was wondering when the first aid squad's going to get out of their trailer and into, a more permanent home.
Greg, do you know when?
Yes, based on the cost estimate from the architect, Nel DeSisto of Mills and Schnoring, it was in excess of $1 million just for the interior renovation. So I forget what meeting it was, but several months ago, the council decided to scale back that project and just do the exterior, which would include the repointing of the bricks, new windows and new doors, creating a brand new seal from roof to foundation of the exterior of the building. The architect actually preferred it that way because they didn't want to be in conflict with the exterior renovation at the same time the interior renovation was done. So right now we're moving forward with the exterior renovation. The interior renovation has been placed on hold, and then what we'll probably do is once we get the second phase of the exterior renovation completed, have the first aid squad come back and then discuss the possibilities of the ground floor again, or any other potential renovation of either an existing building or continuing to come over to the old Borough Hall.
Well, and this is where I think maybe the mayor and council has to readjust their priorities. I understand that you need to clean up the Veterans Field in terms of the contamination, but the fields function as they are right now. And why you would not put that money, because you're talking about 8 to 10 million is what it was.
Mary, I thought we can't have kids on those fields. I don't see how you can say they function.
No, I'm saying you can remediate them without doing all the, that's why I was asking, what's the remediation and what is the cost of the new fields, what you're planning to do on the fields.
Okay.
Because the first aid squad has certainly waited long enough, and I don't think it's very fair to them to have to continue to wait when, and I understand both departments are very important to us, but the volunteer fire department now has 2 buildings. The first aid squad still doesn't have any. And I don't think that's fair to the first aid squad. I think the first aid squad should become higher on your priorities as to things that you're fixing up and getting done in the town. And what I was saying about the fields was, they function as they are right now. So if we don't have the money, or if you have money but you have to choose where to put it, I would like to see the first aid squad have a preference on that, because of the fact that, you know, what they've done, how long they've done it, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the pilot programs. I had a chance to go over 38 COA, which you already have a pilot program on. And in lieu of what's going on in terms of the taxes for the school and what they had to cut back in order to keep under the cap, your tax abatement, abatement for the COA that exists for 38 COA, and I presume that the new one on Breland will, on Winterburn will, parallel that. It'll be a similar thing. Gives a tax abatement for 32 to 50 years. So for 32 to 50 years, the school will not be getting any tax on those two properties, if they both run the same way. And
You're saying Breland was 32 to 50 years?
yes, because it's based on the mortgage, and that is the mortgage that the state of New Jersey gives. If you look at your, and I didn't bring it up here, but if you look at the agreement that you signed, it says it is based on the mortgage. And the mortgage,
I didn't sign that.
well, whoever signed it.
Yeah.
It's based on the mortgage, and the mortgage traditionally runs 32 to 50 years. That is given by the state. This council has applied to the Bergen County, and I don't know what the title of the program is, but for a grant for 38 COA for $500,000 on behalf of the 38 COA owner. We've already paid them, this mayor and council has paid them $150,000 out of the COA account from the property that's called 914 Undercook Avenue, which is the top of Maple. Nemi owned it. Mr. Dives has taken over. He asked the town to give back the $150,000 that was given to the fund for the 2 units that should have been put there, because he's going to put them on 38 COA. He hasn't done that yet, and you gave him the money then. And in addition, in January, you passed a funding, the COA funding spending plan, which indicated that you were going to give $500,000 for 5 units in either 38 COA or the Winterburn property. Which, what that actually does is it doesn't give you any more affordable units, because these properties are going to be affordable because you've already given them pilot programs and abatements that indicate that they are going to be affordable. I've been told you can't do the ones that they don't own, that are rentals, and both of these appear to be rentals, because the town can't own the units if they're in a rental building. So it would be better spent the $500,000 to find units that are not affordable at this time and convert them into affordables, rather than give them to a project that we know is going to be affordable. And to give the money in advance and promote all this stuff before these units have even been completed and/or approved by our COA as COA units. That has never been done yet, since the third round COA was rejected, and certainly Winterburn was not on it. So therefore, you're giving them money and giving them, applying for grants for them on units that we don't even know if COA is going to say are going to fit under our COA plan or not. Thank you.
If I could just break the open to the public up. Stephanie, would you like to respond to Mary Hogan, please?
Yes, the site remediation cost is in the $3 million range. I understand what you were trying to say, doing one versus the other, but if you're doing the remediation, that includes taking out soil, bringing soil in, and basically that's all you have is just the top finished grade of that soil. So you wouldn't have any amenities at all. You wouldn't have a field, because then the site amenities part of it, the 8 to 10 million, which is included with the 3 million remediation, that would include putting in your clay areas for your baseball fields and your grass sod, your fencing, things like that. But the remediation is estimated around $3 million at this point.
3,656,460.
As far as the first aid squad, Mary, we're in constant contact with the first aid squad. I understand they're not, everybody would like to have a new space, and I think we've done very well accommodating our police department, but I feel that the first aid squad's very comfortable working with us. They know that the future tasks are going to involve them having a new building, so I just want to make that known in public. Anyone else wish to be heard? Tommy?
I'm strictly finance, Mr. Mayor. With the remediation that we just raised, Nita just mentioned $3 million.
You didn't address.
Tom Tansy, 611 Undercliff Avenue. With the remediation, at the prior meeting, I brought up that it was in the range of $4 to $5 million, half the anticipated cost. Now it seems to be more refined to 3.6.
That's just the
That's
remediation,
fine.
Tommy.
But even with 10% of that, with soft costs for your engineering purposes and other professionals, that's $400,000. Today's aggregate is $260,000 a point. Correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. It's been substantially reduced through the appeal process in the last several years, from $3 billion to $2,600,000. It's $260,000 a point.
Close to it.
Okay, at $4 million. Okay, at 16 points. On a $500,000 home, well, and you can break it down 400,000, 500, okay? That's $800 if that amount had to be raised strictly for remediation and for an action done in 201 with the acceptance of Green Acres that every homeowner would have to pay at that assessed level. Naturally, if it's 400,000, it's proportionately less. Second of all, you talk about the imposition and the increase of the impact of development, and specifically the enrollment. Now, we've all seen the enrollment in our, not only Leonia, but our local system increase, but specifically from the end of '07. When the onset of the economy. I made copies, I submitted to the Mayor and Council, the Board of Adjustment, the Planning Board, and any other agency, the Board of Education, of a breakdown of all new development from 64 onward, Hudson Harbor. And purposely, to try to show a contrast of what's advantageous high-rise, high-density versus more land occupancy, more lot coverage. And the starking contrast at that time, and the numbers, they come from your office, was that you utilize airspace, specifically Avalon, River Club, the two low-rise rentals. Back then, in '08, '09, your breakdown of your tax rate was 38.5% for for school purposes of your rate of $1.10 or whatever it was at that time. Okay? These two sites were 92.5%, 93.5% of every dollar. 92.5 cents of every tax dollar went for educational purposes, when the average was 38.5 cents. All right? And when certain individuals come before you and say you should do this, do that, you should look who brought the various rates or the proposals before you. It'd be a revelation. Today, and back then it was 49 students between Leonia and Edgewater. When they had the beginning of the recession, it went to 71. Today you have between 90 and 100 students. Back then it was 1,260,000 rental monies that the town received. So when I say 93% rounded off of every tax dollar, base it on that number I just did back then. Now it's 1,480,000, and you're between 90 and 100 students. So when you talk about an influx of students from one complex, are you for real? Second of all, when you're carrying charges on a bond note that was blatantly given away to the state of New Jersey and fell under their rules and regulations, specifically the rec center. What are you doing? I mean, it doesn't affect, what were these people thinking? They have no consideration for monies invested? Thank you.
In response to Tommy, I'm not sure if the 10% the cost of our engineering is accurate. Stephanie, do you have an answer as far as the Negli's rate?
I believe it was 101,000 for the engineering proposal.
So the percentage overall is?
It was not
It
10%.
was not 10%.
Normally, when you estimate, you're giving 5 to 10% of soft costs, whether it be legal fees, professional services, when you put out a bid.
The
Well,
contingency.
Neglia came in, I believe, a lot lower than that,
Okay.
so something to be happy about. Anyone else wish to be heard? Valerie?
Valerie Gordina, 16 Hudson Terrace. Unfortunately, the way the meeting's set up where the public can only speak and direct all their questions to the mayor, often I'll ask a question and it won't get answered at that time, but a council person will answer it after the public session is closed and I don't have a chance to respond. So I'd like to respond now. At the last meeting in March, Councilman Vidal I talked about the tax abatement that the council is considering. And somebody else who spoke before me talked about Fort Lee, the mayor, refusing the abatement, saying that he wasn't going to accept it because it hurts schools. Councilman Vidal said he went up to Fort Lee and what that person said wasn't true because they've accepted a lot of pilot programs and abatements. Well, that person never said historically Fort Lee never accepted them. That person said the mayor of Fort Lee, the current mayor, is on record saying that he would not accept it because it would hurt schools. So I copied out the article in which the mayor, this is from February 17th, the Bergen Record, Mark Sokolage is on record stating that. Councilman Vidal said abatements and pilots are different. A pilot program is not an abatement. Well, a pilot program is an abatement, and if you have any doubts, I copied out the definition of a tax abatement, and I also copied...
Excuse me, Valerie.
Yes, sir.
The Mark Sokolich's, what was the date of the meeting?
Oh, I'm going to give you a copy of
Okay,
it,
all right,
okay? And I copied the first 3 pages of Matthew Boxner's, the controller, where he talks about pilot/abatement, and he uses it in fact in the same sentence and describes it as the same thing. A tax pilot program is a tax abatement. So I made a few little copies, and when I spoke about the controller's report, Mr. Franz had assured me that he supplied all the council and the mayor with it. It is a lengthy document. I only copied the first 3 pages because it's 30 pages, and since I'm not getting a tax abatement, I can't afford it. So if you can just pass this out, everything I just referenced is here. Each council person, just so you, yeah, it's up there. I highlighted it and everything. It's a little package for you. My other concern is that recently the council has been voting on the resolutions as sort of like a package deal, where so far since January, a single resolution hasn't been discussed in the public. Nobody has asked to pull a council resolution, and nobody has discussed it. So I actually copied all the agendas since January, And I went through all the resolutions, and not a single resolution here was pulled and discussed before you voted on it. In fact, many of the resolutions were never discussed in public.
Could
And-
I respond to that?
Yes.
And whatever time I use on you, Valerie.
I get 2 for 1.
Nice
Go ahead.
snap.
No, no, Valerie, in the past, the resolutions are a great spot to, stall meetings and, create a conversation where, if someone's opposed to it, they just sneak attack. I don't feel, and this is me, if you want to blame anybody for it, it's me. I asked every council member if they have, and I would say the same to you, Valerie, if you had a problem with the way the borough's operating, don't hesitate to call and reach out to Greg, because my attitude is, and I'm not as long around, maybe as long as you were or your experience on the council, but my attitude was that, no, I didn't say you. No, I didn't. Believe me, I'm Greg. Well, I never said you were old. But Valerie, in the past, my experience, the thing that aggravated me the most was for one person to grab one section of one resolution and a sneak attack. And I feel our responsibility here is to be effective for the town. And if you know about a problem, there is no reason why you shouldn't be calling during the week and reaching out to Greg or anybody else. And with every council member here, if they have a problem on Monday night, I have a concern with that, because they have the whole week or, Thursday on to reach out to people and what's the concern and get your answers. It's easy to come up with problems that really, a majority of them that I've dealt with could have been solved over a phone call. And so you can blame me for that.
I'm not blaming anybody, but it's a philosophy you're running the meetings for. But here's my problem with that. First of all, the council who vote on these things have no power individually. They only have their power as a group, a voting bloc. So you, as per the sunshine law, are supposed to be operating in public. So when Mr. Doran has a problem with something, he can call Greg and get it clear, or he can speak to you, but he's supposed to state that in public. He's supposed to talk about the problem or what he needs or any concern in the public, so the public has knowledge of what's going on. And because this council are not supposed to be meeting privately,
And
maybe
how many? What's the sunshine law?
4.
And there's never a time
As of
that
6.
there's never a time that they
Okay.
have.
Well, because of that, he might have and I'm just using you as an example, he might have a really valid, good point that the rest of the council people never thought of. But they're not going to know that unless it's discussed in public, because they're not supposed to be discussing it as a group. You're supposed to, and Mayor, I'm not blaming you, and I understand it's your philosophy to be efficient. The public gets 5 minutes twice a month to speak to you and to get answers. And in 5 minutes, I stand here and talk, I get very few answers. Or I'll have a councilman later shooting out stuff that's not accurate. And I can't respond. And saying things that were never said. So it's unfair. And if there's not a back and forth, I'm amusing Mr. Christensen, that's good, I'm glad. Made my day. But if there's not a back and forth here, how would you know? And the public is being cut out of the process, and that's not what you're elected for. You're not elected to follow your own agenda. You're elected, and I don't mean you personally, but this council, this mayor, this form of government is a democracy. And we're supposed to be part of this, because every vote you take costs us money. Every vote.
Well, in response to that, I would say any resolution you have a question on from January on, I feel that we would be able to respond
Well,
to
my
it.
question
I know that I
is,
get criticized for a
right.
response, but at the end of the day, Valerie, I'm just using my 5 years of experience, and I saw that it was a good way to stall meetings, and
Well-
maybe I'd be criticized for saying that, but listen, if a council person has a concern in regards to a resolution, I feel they should be reaching out to Greg. And if he can't give the answer, reach out to whoever they need, the borough attorney or whoever else, whatever.
But if you're...
And if they need to sneak attack somebody down at a meeting to try and make it...
But
well,
see, your language, sneak attack. I don't think because a person has a concern or has a question or wants the public to know how they feel, that's a sneak attack.
You're here
It
right
might-
now, any concern you have, I want to respond to it, I want to make sure you get
It's
the
a
answer.
different of opinion.
I'm not saying you're
I'm not
sneak
saying
attack.
me, council, if they want to talk about it in public, that's their right, that's what they're supposed to be. Do, please, read the Sunshine Law.
Okay. No,
You-
I
You know, when I
appreciate you.
read this, there is so many violations because you're not discussing this stuff in public. You know, I
Valerie,
just.
anything you have a question about, bring up and we'll get answers for. But like I said, in my 5 years being down here, I just saw it as like a way to stall meetings. And I'm not saying you, I'm not
No,
saying
I
it could have
understand.
been
But you
someone
know
on my
what?
party. But
You get out of here, you have 2 meetings a month. 2 meetings a month. You're out of here most nights by 9 o'clock. So what's stalled? You're doing the people's business. You're doing the people's business and that shouldn't be rushed.
Valerie, you would know better than anybody, just as many other people. Anytime I get a phone call, I respond
You do.
to answers.
You
So
do.
it's not just 2
I'm
hours
not
here.
mayor.
It's every day I'm here.
I'm not criticizing you, and I understand it's a
No, I'm
difference of
not taking it
philosophy.
personal. All I'm
I
saying-
really, my objection more so is with the council. They're the voting members. You know, they're the voting members. I don't understand how you don't have a question about anything, or how you don't want to discuss it so the public hears.
Valerie,
And
you know what, you're right, because, I was accused of that, being a council person, but my question always was, I was probably the quietest council person there. And you know what, at the end of the day, I asked Greg, I called Phil Bozier and asked the questions. I didn't need to put people, try and come up with a dilemma like the night of the meeting and say, oh, there's a conspiracy. It was never, I just wanted the effective
But,
result,
okay,
that's it.
and again, you know, what I think is that sometimes having a difference of opinion, and most times probably, it's a good thing.
I think it's healthy.
Because you know, I've spoke to you plenty of times where you've stated things and I didn't think it in that light, and I changed my mind. And maybe, you know.
You've probably done the same to me, Valerie. and I
Right, you know,
would- I
so
would-
maybe if you have an open dialogue, I don't think being, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, and I think this council, you know, because you know what the image is? That they're following lockstep. We're gonna vote yes, we're gonna vote no, you know? And I'm not saying they are, but that's the image that's
Right,
given.
well, I could understand that, Valerie, and that's always been the image
The
since I've
only
been down
thing
here.
I ever hear
But
discussed here
if
is
there's-
about the recreation, sports. You know, you would think that's all we do,
No,
or all
that's-
you
that's-
do. And I know it's not,
It's a
but
big,
you need
it's a
to.
big part for me, Valerie. and
I
if-
understand.
If you're throwing that at me, I do think,
So
I
you're
love.
taking
No,
everything and
I
I'm
don't,
talking.
no, so if that's all I speak about, but you know, during the day, I'm doing other things as well.
Jim, and you're a very busy man and you're trying your best, but you don't vote. You're the mayor. These guys vote. And if a council person is going to criticize what a public resident says, they should really know what they're talking about, do their homework. This
Can
comes
I
to
ask
bite
one
them in
thing
the
in
behind.
regards, because you know that we've had discussions as far as affordable housing goes,
Yes.
COA.
Yes.
The project that Mark was talking about, is that does it deal with COA? The one, the new building the 2 buildings that are going on?
That the skyrise?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I'm sure they're gonna have a COBRA obligation. I don't know. I would be lying to you to tell you that. But I will tell you this. The pilot program, which I cited the law, I cited how it came about, everything. That was initially created to help blighted areas, and everything you look into with, yes, it is. Well, that's okay. You can get up and speak.
I'm going
Mr. I thank you. Everything, it was created to help blighted areas. Jersey City, West Orange, all those areas. We are not a blighted area, okay? And you're granting, you know, my taxes went up again. My taxes went up again. Since I've owned my home, I cannot remember a quarter I didn't get a tax raise. Last meeting, your CFO, your tax assessor, or what, stood here and said, appropriations are down. Yes, you're taking in less tax and you're spending more. You're spending more. My taxes are higher. I'm paying more and I'm not getting an abatement. And I don't mind paying the taxes when I know it's going to worthy causes. for services, for fire, for police, for EMTs, for the staff here. That's fine. But when I'm paying because I'm carrying somebody else's burden, because I'm carrying an assessor who gave a multi-million-dollar lowering of assessment and can't explain why. Now I have to cover that. Now I have to cover when somebody gets a pilot program. I have a problem with that. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Yes, Mayor. Please. Brian Christensen, 1 Moorings Lane. I'd just like to clear a few
Excuse me.
misstatements here.